Okay, we are live and in the green room with Walter Rodriguez today.
Woohoo! Hey, Jeff,
Hey,
what's up, man?
hey, Walter. All right. So, I apologize for the long intro, but when my internet is slow, it takes me a few minutes to get everything to work. Um,
Well, I just realized also, I forgot to tell you, my wife, she has all kinds of stuff going on as well. And the reason why we had a little bit of trouble connecting earlier is because she's doing, as we speak, she might be finishing by now, but she has a YouTube live uh, story time thing going on.
oh, well, it's her fault we're having issues.
I think they're done. They're done at 3, so they should be done by now. But yeah.
Oh, the minute she finishes, we'll be golden. Get her up here. Let's have a talk with
Yeah,
her.
get it right. Get off the internet.
Oh man. All right. So let's talk about first that what you have going. I know that you were really busy. You're always really busy, but what are you doing right now? What's your uh, a a project or anything that you have going right now currently that you'd like everybody to know about?
Okay. Well, so first of all, let me just start by saying one thing here that I always share with people, and it really sets the path of whatever it is that I'll be doing on a daily basis, or and that has to do with my faith,
Mm.
Jeff. I'm just simply sharing. This is my personal thing. Um, I am a believer. You know, I believe in Jesus. I'm a strong follower and doer, at least as much to my efforts of living a life of following what being a Christian is. I'm not perfect, and that's not what I'm talking about. Now, having said that, pretty much everything I do stems out of that.
Mm.
As in, for example, and that to answer your question, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing lately these days is connected with, for example, the church that I'm a member of. For example, we do services every weekend. Now services, as you would know, they go online. So, but going online, then that means, well, we first started doing things where we would show up one day and do like 4 different services, like pre-recorded, the worship part, pre-recorded. But now it's kind of like going because of the shutdown and lockdown and all that. So now we have to do every musician has to do their part at home, which is why, for example, as you notice, I have a smaller setup that we'll talk about in a little bit right behind me. Um, that's one thing. So Shepherd of the Hills, that's the church I'm a member. You know, I don't know, 20,000 members. So every weekend, we just go live and play, and that's available out there. I just did an. Actually, I shouldn't be saying this, but we will be going live. I'm doing a live thing with Tommy Walker. He's a worship leader at Christian Assembly in Eagle Rock. He's well known in around the world. Many songs that he written and composed. Great guy, amazing guy, amazing musician. He went to MIT, here in Hollywood, and graduated from MI, guitar player. But again, it's all that, all connected. And a lot of things that I do are coming out of the church, connected to the church. So that's one. Number two, I am everything, obviously, all my students, online lessons, that's all happening through Zoom, as most people are nowadays. And so that's a whole thing because, it's great, but you have to, it's a different, it has a little bit of a different, I guess, path. Because, for example, you can't talk through Zoom, but you can't play. For some reason, the moment you start playing drums, the volume drops, so it kind of shuts down, cuts off. And So there's a little bit of that you have to some of those issues I have to deal with.
Well, here
Uh,
I want to interrupt just for a second because
yeah.
Zoom now has a setting that you can go in and
Okay.
adjust the compression. So when you start to play your drums, it will stop squashing it.
Okay.
That would
So maybe I'll look into
yeah,
that.
because all of these platforms are, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
That's cool.
they're optimized for voice only, and most of
Exactly.
them don't you can't get good music, but Zoom recent I think it's recently has made an option so you can turn that off, so it might help your lesson.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I was gonna put the question out there, but you seems like you have the answer. So hey, but you would know. I mean,
Right.
like you know all that stuff. So anyway, so we that's one thing I did. I had to work on. Well, I'm talking about the Tommy Walker thing. I want to go back to that
Hmm.
because I had to do I had to do video and audio at the same time, and I have to say I'm being honest because I've always been working outside. I never had a studio set up at home. There was no need, you know. But now this happened, and it's been great. I've been learning a lot, moving really fast. You know, I've learned a lot in a very short amount of time. It's been working great, and always room for improvement. And I'm the first one there. But yeah, other things. Yeah, some collaborations with other artists. Um, I can't really talk much about it, but stuff that's coming up. Um, a few movies that now are moving. I think you talked about this with Bernie. I
Hmm.
saw that interview, and so now because obviously you can't do the large orchestra setting, whether it's Sony or Warner Brothers or Fox. So now you have to go to more of a smaller setting where literally you break down all the different sections in even individual.
So
Um,
do you think that some of those, and I'm going to pull up a picture here quick because
yeah,
um, you have done a lot of sessions for movies. And the one picture I have is with you and Bernie, and I believe Alex Acuna.
yeah.
Is that with, and that was for Into Darkness,
All right.
right? So, and then
Star Trek. Yeah.
right, and then there was another one here of doing when you were doing Inside Out on the Eastwood scoring stage, and then I'm kind of a nerd, and then there's one here because I think these are really cool, seeing all these pictures where you're doing this. So you were active doing, especially for Michael Giacchino, uh,
Right.
recording, doing percussion, and you would have all of this percussion stuff set up, and you would score those movies. So now those aren't necessarily happening. Do you think you'll have to do your parts from your house?
Well,
Some of that.
number one, our hope is that Michael keeps doing stuff. I mean, we haven't with him specifically. We haven't done anything. Actually, it was about a week before the quarantine started. We were doing a project for Disney theme parks.
Mm.
Anyways, if that was the case, so yes, it would have to be a situation where we would have to individually, send our parts. And I mean, once it's doable, you can a lot of things we do as a section, so we play together, and it's really good. Probably the best way to do it when you have a section. You have Alex and you have Bernie and you have Dan Greco are he's normally the lead percussionist and amazing. These guys are like amazing musicians. Um, Emil Richards, he used to be one of the main guys there. Obviously, he's not around anymore. Who else? A few guys. Oh, Don Williams on Tiffany's. Anyway, so when we get together and we play together, that's obviously that is the way to go. We can't do that now. Like I said, I've been doing a few things where they send the files, I record it here at home, and then you send them back out, and it works,
But
but
it's not the
not my
same if
favorite.
you can't be
No,
standing
no.
next to the guy. Part of when a musician reaches your level and Bernie's level, and you're just going to go in and you're going to cut the tracks. It becomes more about the hang.
Right. Well, that's a big part of it. Exactly. And I miss that too, man. It's it's a great, because this is the thing, Jeff. When you work with this, when you have a group of people that get together, and musically you're gonna connect, and we do. I mean, we start playing, and a lot of things that we do specifically. Let me make a parenthesis on this. There is Mission Impossible. I can't remember which one. We did two of them. I believe was four. Am I four? Anyways, we did a track. It's this the one that they do in the I think it was India, and anyway, so we did a track, and Bernie played drums on it. I was playing tabla, and then Alex was playing. I think he was playing bongos and some, and then Dan was playing some shakers and bells, and man, and Michael. This is the day of session. He said at the end of the day, "Well, we're gonna overdub some things here. The first thing I want to do. This is a track that I created, but I want to do it live." So we listened to the track and we said, "Okay, yeah, there's a tabla there, there's drums, obviously there's some hand percussion, there's some jingles and shakers and all that. Let's just get that first and see what happens." So we stopped the track. We got together. We got our instruments. We got all mic'd up and everything, and we played. And I'm sure. I honestly don't remember, but I'm sure the first take was the one that ended up on the score. Just to say, there's something about the camaraderie. I think that's the word. That friendship between people, and that translates to the music. These are people that I consider mentors. These are people that they've been around. They've done this for so long, and when you're able to join that, and you could tell, man, in the music, it just locks in right away.
Well, on that piece, did he have something written and set, or did he just say, "This is the kind of groove I want"? And
No, that was that's one of those, as he said. This is what I created a temp track on this, a mock track of what I want to hear, and he played it. We listened to it, and it's okay. Let's do it. So we went back, and he loved it. He was
you
like,
just
"That's
started
it,"
doing. Oh,
Man, I should look for it. So it's that whole score. It's one of my favorites. There's a lot of different things, different sounds. Michael is one of those guys. Michael Giacchino, by the way, that's the one I'm talking about. I've done everything with Michael since 2001, I believe, 2002.
so
Um,
let's just name some of those movies. Those would be like The Incredibles and.
Incredible. Well, my first movie was Mission Impossible 3 with him.
Mm-hmm.
Then from that point, I didn't do The Incredibles, the first one. I came in and I did the video game for that movie
Mm.
because they created a video game. And then after that, not in this order, but after that, Up, Inside Out, Ratatouille, all the Mission Impossible, all the Star Treks, Jurassic World, the first one of the two. The second one was recorded in Europe. Um, Cars 2. Um, I mean, there's
So, well, that
Zootopia. I'm sorry.
from my point of view, I'm going, man, already that's cool. Everything about that is cool. And let me just say, I did a gig one time for Mark Levang, and he said, "Have everything ready. We're going to come. We'll be coming in from
From a
a,
session. Yeah, I
from a
remember.
session.
Yeah.
It was Star Trek. I think you were doing Into Darkness or something."
Right, right,
And this is how
right.
the only way I can describe how you guys all play from a sound man's perspective is you guys come racing in from doing this session, you set up and start playing just the regular old, same old dance tunes that everybody else plays. But the sound sonically was so different. It was so huge. And just this wall of sound came out. And I stood there and listened and I said, what? They're playing all the same notes. And
You
it
know, there again.
hard.
There's something to say. I have to say, when you come from a situation that you're playing at a studio or a scoring stage, you do have to change your mindset. You know, you have headphones on. You're aware of different things that are happening in the room. You know, you got to be aware of the fact that you have strings a couple feet away from you, horns, trumpets, all kinds of stuff, happening around you. So you have to, in most situations, you have to be aware of the volume. Sometimes they dedicate a specific booth for hand percussion, just to be able to isolate the sound and all that. But anyways, this to say, so when you get in the car, you're done with that. You get in the car. You've been recording for sometimes days at a time, and then you get in the car to do a live gig. you know, it takes a minute. It takes a minute. It takes a minute.
Oh,
But
well, and then the other thing I want to point out about that, what we talked about just before we went live, is on one
right.
particular gig, and this is what I appreciate about how you play in particular, was the dynamics because on one gig, the volume had to be held down to like 80 decibels or something silly. And the band was getting a little too loud because you guys were just burning. It was grooving and funky. And they come up and said, okay, it needs to come down a little bit. So I said, it needs to come down. And you instantly dropped the volume in half, but the groove stayed just as in the pocket as ever.
Well, isn't that how it's supposed to be?
But that's not everybody can do that and make it still work. I mean, it's
you know, here's the thing with that, Jeff, and I just have to laugh because sometimes ignorance. You have to let people know. Sometimes, listen, it doesn't work that way. But sometimes you just gotta laugh, and this is what I'm trying to say. When someone comes to you or me and say, "Hey, it's loud. Can you bring it down?" Immediately people go like this. They go from sticks and they pull out some brushes, which is it's great. I'm not against it. Well, what does that mean? That you can't keep playing it with the same intensity, but at a lower volume? You know,
yeah.
that's that for me. It's. I just gotta laugh. So wait a second, you can still play. I can. You saw it. I can. All you gotta do is just bring the volume down. Intensity stays the same thing. Groove, pocket doesn't change.
I think there's a perception though from from some places that there's a way that you hit the drums or there's a way that a volume that you attain from like a guitar player and an amp that for some reason a certain volume is the only way you can get a level of intensity. However, I would like to use you as an example and the guys that were on that gig that that's not the case.
I disagree, man. I have to again whatever works for well, if that's what works for you, great. And I'm not against brushes. I love brushes. There's just a place and time for them,
Right.
and like you said, if someone comes to you and say, "Can you bring it down?" All you gotta do is bring the volume down. Volume is separate from intensity,
Mm.
separate from groove, separate from technique. You have to, yes, you have to change your technique. That doesn't mean everything else is affected by it. See?
Right.
So, anyways, those are my 2 cents on that. I'm sure people are
Well,
rolling up their eyes out there, but whenever they listen to that,
in terms of session work, though, because that's you've been doing a lot of that. Have you done TV shows or record dates?
I did. I with Michael, we did Lost. I did a lot of those.
Hmm.
That was at the beginning. That was at the beginning of. But you know what? I mean, I'm assuming that's what you were referring to as TV shows, or are you talking about live, like live talk
Well,
shows, or?
or any TV sessions, or I'm guessing that film and TV, those kinds of sessions are all the same, pretty much.
They're pretty similar. The way they're recorded, they're pretty similar. At least the ones I've been on. So
Right. And
now, if you're doing a live, like a talk show or something, that's a whole different thing, as you would know.
right.
Um, because now, most likely you'll be on camera at some point, so there's got to be a little bit of the stage performance, that you have to add to that. Um, which it's always welcome. I always say, you gotta perform. You gotta perform, and um, the playing level, intensity, all that has got to be there. And so, just as if you were playing live or you're playing at a let's say like a sit down theater, like a show. That's a whole different type of playing as well. You could be in the pit, and you got to adjust to, again, volume, intensity. Now it's dark. You might have some music stands with lights, but that's a whole different thing. Nowadays, you have iPads, so there's a lot to take in account and consider per situation.
Can I ask, because this I'm so fascinated by all the different aspects of what you do, and in a studio setting for sure. What how you play cajon, you play congas, you play. Tell me all of the different percussion. I mean,
Okay, and this is good because this is where I wanted to go, and
oh,
and
good.
I left stuff set up behind so I can explain a little bit of how I approach what I do. So someone asked me, "What do you do?" Well, I'm a drummer because I study drums. I'm not a classical drummer. Like, yeah, I never studied snare drum. I never did any of that. I never was like on a what do you call a high school band or I never did any of that. But I studied drums. Um, I have to mention my two main or three main teachers, mentors: Alex Acuna, obviously, Joe Porcaro, and Ralph Humphrey.
Mm, man, three of the
Those three guys, yeah, those three guys, that they pretty much, when it comes to music, on my early days, my school days, they were the ones who influenced and I mean a whole list of other guys behind underneath them. But anyways, that was drums. Then percussion. My dad is a drummer percussionist. I'm from originally from Puerto Rico, so my dad. I grew up. I mean, literally since baby, since when I was in diapers. Listening to my dad playing. Go to gigs with my dad, helping him out set up. I was his cardage guy for many years during my teenager uh, years. So I was around that. So when it comes to percussion, I never, I never studied. Actually, sat down and studied everything I know. I've learned. I've learned. Lately in the later years, you start practicing and you start developing all the things, but the knowledge of it, it's all because it all grew up culturally because of the culture and because I was around my dad and um. So that's when it comes to percussion. Now, there's a third leg of all this, which is what I call I'm a performer. Okay, I was. This is something over the years I've been trying to figure out. Should I change this or should I leave it? People. Well, what do you mean by performer? Oh, performer. As we have been talking, I went and I did for about 4 or 5 years. I did show Stomp
I
on stage.
can I show can I show a clip of you doing something with Yanni?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Can I show that now? Now the video might be the audio will be fine, but the video will be kind of choppy. But it will
Okay,
give people the idea of what you're talking about.
okay, yeah,
So you can, if you don't mind, go ahead, keep sort of describe that, and I'll pull
yeah.
it up.
So with Yanni, I was actually coming out of we've been doing a sit down for whatever in San Francisco. Something I started to be originally it was going to be a 6 month or 3 month thing. Ended up being a couple years, and then Yanni was going to start doing a new tour, and he asked my good friend brother in Jesus. My he's like my dad, my brother, my everything, you know. And when it comes to, he's one of those guys that's he's around your life, you know. He covers everything. And Pedro Eustache, amazing uh, woodwind world woodwind player. You know, he's pretty much on every movie nowadays that you can play. Anyway, so Pedro was touring with Yanni. Pedro recommended me. Yanni brought me in. Literally, I went from being on Stomp. Actually, the show closed in December. In January, I was in Florida rehearsing with Yanni. But Yanni had a request. He said, I know you come from doing Stomp. I want something in the show, in my show, related to Stomp. And I said, well, the show has many areas, many different things that we could do. What are you thinking of? No, I want something like fire. I want, it has to be like really strong. You're going to be playing in front of whatever, 30, 40,000 people. And this is going to be on video and all that. So it has to be really strong. And I said, okay, well, in the show, that's the first number in the show, Stomp show. It's called Brooms. The audience doesn't know this, but for us performers, that it's a number that we do, or when I was in the show, we did with brooms, and it's amazing. It's fascinating, man. How it's all numbers. Anyways, I I was at the end of that number. I had a broom solo. I ended up with two brooms in my hand. I flip them upside down. I mean, with the broom head on top, and I would do a broom solo that would finish the number. I would actually close the number. So I said, well, I don't think we should. I told Yanni, I don't think we should come out with brooms, but I would love to do this. We could, PVC pipes, two sticks, whatever. I don't care. We could do it something. So the reason we went to PVC pipes is because I don't know if I think I sent you a link. There's a guy,
The didgeridoo.
David Hudson, the didgeridoo. Yeah, he's from Australia. Friend of mine. We became really good friends. David would do a part in the show with the didgeridoo. I said, well, great, because with the PVC pipes, then we could do a thing that David and I can come in on stage, and he can, whatever. So at that point, we just started working on a sketch where he would grab one of my PVC pipes, and he'd start doing a didgeridoo with a PVC pipe, and so that turned out to be the intermission of the show, of Yanni's show. Then that moved into, for the video that you have on screen, that turned out to be within a song.
The first clip I'm going to show is just you coming out by yourself.
Right, and that's I believe, is that within the song, or is that by myself? I think that's the one in the song.
Um, I'm gonna play it, and then
Okay.
let's listen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's in the song. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I want to tell everybody though, because the because of this platform, the video is a little broken up, and
Copy.
but
Yeah.
you can hear it. Go please to Walter's. Can we find that on your YouTube
Yeah, it's
channel?
well that one specifically. I don't know. You know what? I was never a YouTube channel. I never kept it up, so I'm trying to build that up now. So I'm slowly putting videos in there. If it's not there, I will definitely bring. That's one of the classic ones.
Okay, so I put up a link to your YouTube channel, so
Awesome.
Walter Rodriguez, and on YouTube channel, and they can find some of this stuff there. If it's not there, you'll put it there eventually,
Okay,
right?
so it's Walter Rodriguez one. You know, the number one.
Right.
There's someone else with that name also. But anyways,
Yeah.
so just to talk about this for a second. So like I said, that one literally, I had just come out from doing the Stomp tour for a couple of years. Well, sit down and then we did a little bit of touring, and then now I'm doing this in the middle of a song. This is what ended up being in the video that's out. I think it's called.
Do you want to see the little bit with the didgeridoo?
Yeah, if you have it, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to go a little bit towards the end
Okay,
when
perfect.
he walks over towards you.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to play that because the two of you have pretty good interaction. It's pretty cool.
It was
All right.
fun, man. It was fun. So it was the type of thing where I came out first, I believe, and I did something, and then he came out and he kind of like tried to mimic what I was doing with the. Okay, no, it was the other way. He came out first, then I came in and tried to mimic some of the rhythms that he was doing with the didgeridoo, and then so we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then at the end, like I said, he just grabs my didgeridoo, my PVC pipe, and he does what he was doing on a real didgeridoo. He does it on a PVC pipe, which is I think is amazing. And
Okay.
then at the end of that, then we just went crazy, and then that was the end of the number.
All all right. I'm going to play it from right about when he stops and you start. Then you have your little interaction.
Okay, cool. So yeah, man, that was actually
Wait,
that was
this
my
is
my double.
this is where he grabs the PVC pipe from you.
Right, that's when he goes and let's see, yeah, crazy man. The one good thing, I mean, so many things came out of that, but like I learned how to play didgeridoo.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's all about the circular breathing and all that. But that's my teacher right there. But he's amazing guy, talented guy, man, and we had fun doing that on tour with Yanni.
Man, that's so much fun. So what other live playing things do you do? I know you've been doing something with Abe Laboriel Sr.
Right. Can I finish something I was going to say? Because
Yeah, oh,
we, all
yes,
this
please.
stemmed out from drums, percussion, and then being a performer, being able to. So then what I had to do was like, well, I have to somehow combine all this together because this is something that um, I had to learn. You know, I worked with Stomp. I did that while doing Stomp. By the way, I studied tabla. That's how I learned play tabla with Swapanji Chaudhuri, which is the top tabla player in the world. Swapanji came and saw the show at Stomp. He somehow got in touch with me. He said, "I saw your show. I want to get in touch with you. I want to talk to you." The next day, probably I think it was the next day, I went to his house. He called me. He lives in San Francisco. I started going to his house, and he took me under his wing, and I studied tabla with Swapanji. Swapanji teaches here at Cal Arts, by the way. Well, anyways, so many things that I learned in the process of so I said I have to put all this together. So, which is why, for example, I go back to now what I was gonna share with you. What I have a mini setup that I've been using online to do a few other things that I'm doing, and
Well,
we
hey, Walter,
actually,
I'm gonna ask you to do one thing though.
yeah,
Can you try logging out and logging back in to see if we get a better connection now
okay,
before you do that?
do that.
Um, and let's just see. And I'm going to show something, and because I want to get a better connection for all of you folks that are there watching, and see if we get so the video looks. We can hear everything okay, but the video has just been a little choppy. So I want to make sure that he gets logged in okay. Oh, hey,
Hey,
that looks a little
I think it
better.
is better. I can see it. Yours. I can see better for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, perfect. So let's make you go.
Anyways,
Uh, I'm
I
gonna.
was just gonna share. Um, let's see if you can see. I'll move out of the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, I have a cajon in the back, and then I have a smaller djembe that Gombops, which is the company I'm with. Gombops came out with this djembe this year. Um, I have man, I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. There's uh, a hi hat on the floor here
Yeah.
that DW makes.
Okay.
And then I have a pedal, a foot, like a kick pedal that is connected to the cajon, which again DW makes that as well. Then I have a snare drum, a gombop snare drum, right
Okay.
here. And then I have cowbells. I have a cymbal, saving cymbal. That's a company I'm with cymbals. And then I don't know if you ever see, I have uh, it's a water jug,
Oh, cool.
right? So that, and then I have another one here that I put some pebbles, rocks and all kinds of toys in there, and I use it as a shaker. You know, so it's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite things, man. But all it is just again a water jog, and I threw in some marbles and rocks and stuff. Anyways, so
Are you able to sit and
yeah,
play all?
I'm gonna do that right now.
Nice.
So let's see. Oh, I have By the way, this is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is. You know what? I'm sorry, man.
No,
But I
no.
have
This
to
is
show you.
cool. This is cool
Yeah.
because the beauty of this is everybody gets to know you a little bit better too, because you're a wonderful guy and great personality, and we
Oh,
all get to see
and
that and your musicianship.
appreciate that. So this is a okay. So here's the checker, right? And we all
Huh?
know this instrument. But then if you take the skirt off, Gombobs, I don't think they ever came out officially with this instrument. But they took the skirt off, meaning this is a fiberglass shell, and they made a hole on the side,
Okay.
and that turned into an udu.
What a cool sound.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
again one of my favorite. So I put it on a stand, on a snare drum stand, and I can play grooves. Hold on, let me make sure this doesn't come off. So then that's just here, but I have my hands. I have the pedals. I have a tambourine, so you can put a backbeat on that, and then treat the kick drum pedal as just another kick, right? Or
That's so cool.
you can
That's such
switch,
a cool sound.
yeah, you can switch, so many different, different combinations, shaker, snare drum. Uh, you know, anything,
Wow. So just so people can't see that you have a cajon, and the cajon is the thing you're sitting on.
right. I'm sitting on a cajon, and it has a pedal attached to it where you can treat it as a kick drum.
Yeah. So what would be really cool is to have me come over and mic everything up for you.
Let's do it, man. I mean, I haven't normally I haven't my I had to move a few things around, but I was doing like I was telling you I was doing this session during the weekend, and I had everything mic'd up. Well, a few things still, still a few of the stands around, but I had everything mic'd up, and it actually sounded really good. I'm impressed.
And
I'm
yeah,
learning in the process, but
did you just put a couple of overhead mics over
I
that
did. I
kit?
did. I put two overheads. I closed the snare drum because I wanted to be one of the things that I had control over.
Right.
And I have a mic on the cajon and on the back behind the mic. I mean behind the cajon. I have a
Sure.
D12E, AKG. Well,
Yeah.
and then that was it. Two overheads, the snare drum that I had specifically because I wanted to capture that kick snare thing.
And
That was it, man. It came out great.
that's yeah, that's pretty much how it would be recorded in a session anyway,
Right.
with the overhead mics.
Exactly. I mean, you can
Yeah.
go. You could go direct on the djembe, but because I knew
Hmm.
I wasn't gonna be playing a lot of specific parts on the djembe, then I thought, you know what, the overhead will cover.
Right. And a djembe is you can do a lot of different things with that instrument
Oh
alone.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's you get the deep, you get the flat. You can try it as a conga. And it's loud too, man. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So again, I had the bottle because I wanted more of a conga sound. Oops, sorry. Let me put this here. So,
You need one of your family members to be up there and be your assistant.
yeah, my kids they help me out, man. But sometimes you
I
have.
want to I want to show that video too of you and your daughter.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
just before we close, we'll close out with that.
Okay, that sounds
Yep.
good. But
Okay.
anyways, let me move on because I wanted to talk about Abraham's band.
Yes. Yes, please.
Um, so it's called the Brothers of the Wednesday Situation, and in a nutshell, the band was not a band. It started uh, with Abraham getting together with Frank Sotoli, a piano player, keyboardist here in LA. Amazing composer. Frank, long story short, Frank ended up, Frank and Abe, they know each other from the Berkeley days. I mean,
Mm.
way back. So they've been friends forever. They will get together, after a while, they will get together here in LA and do lunch on Wednesdays at Frank's house and writing music. So they would sit down, write music, and then Frank would cook.
Mm.
So they started adding people to that. And then came Mark Gasbaro, who's, by the way, all of the Michael Giacchino movies, that's Mark on piano, on acoustic piano. Then Bud Nuanez. Remember that band Sea Wind back in the.
Yes, I
So,
love Sea Wind.
so Bud is the guitar player in that band. So Bud came in and joined Mark and Abe and Frank, and then I came in last. Mateo, Abe's son, came in last, but right before Mateo, I came in. I think it was, I'm gonna say 2008, 2007. So at that point, we would go in and play every Wednesday. We'd go to Frank's house, play, and then Frank would cook for us. Frank, unfortunately, Frank came up with Lou Gehrig's disease.
Oh,
So 2000, I'm gonna guess 2016. That's when he actually had to stop playing because he couldn't, you know. So we at that point we were already called the Brothers of the Wednesday Situation because we were already starting to do gigs in town. Um, but that's the story of that. We would get together on Wednesday, play, and eat, and then and that's it until right now, until the quarantine. We were the first Wednesday of the month. We were at the Potato every month.
oh, that's what that. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. You
So
know,
that's that.
let me just throw out the baked potato because that's really other that and Catalina Jazz Club really kind of the only place that supports any kind of jazz or live music.
Right. I mean, there are a few. There's like the Blue Whale, and there's the Write Off Room, but there are newer. But Potato and Catalina have been around forever. You know.
Right. There's so much history in that little tiny place. So if you've never been there before and you go to the baked potato, you expect that you're going to go into a big room and it's not. It's
It's
just
a hole in the wall,
it's a little
but it's a big hole in the wall.
right. It's a big hole in the wall. Yes,
And
absolutely.
everyone in LA and everyone in the world that has visited LA, an artist talking about specifically, they've somehow, in a way, one way or another, they've played at the Potato. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of history on that. Justin
Right.
and his dad. I mean, everyone is they're just amazing people, and they've done a great job. We're hoping and praying, man, that they can still, hang.
Yeah. Uh, I'm not trying to put a damper on any musicians, but this one of the reasons why I started doing this is to shine some light on the gigging musician at all aspects of the gigging world that nobody talks about. It are the musicians,
Right.
and Mayor Garcetti just extended the Los Angeles County shelter in place through
I
the into
heard
summer. So my August gigs that were coming back have now moved
pushed,
away.
yeah, or pushed. Oh yeah,
Right.
same here,
So
same here.
this is how we're going to have to make a living and find ways to do this from home.
Exactly, exactly. And I think Justin was trying to do um, what do you call those? Live
A live a live stream.
stream, right? A live stream from the potato. I think they were having a little bit of technical. I mean, because it's so so many factors and so many things to take in consideration, you know. But at the same time, man, you know, I really hope they can pull it off because the potato has gotta continue, man. They've been around forever,
Yeah.
and
Well, I know that they have access to all kinds of people, but I'd be happy to go and help them get a live stream of. And you were talking about church and doing live streams.
right, right,
I started helping Ricky Byers from Agape.
right.
I'm helping her do her music on Sundays now and live
Oh,
streaming that.
great.
And,
I mean, it
oh
wouldn't hurt to reach out. I mean, if you want, I can contact you with them, and this will be great. I think it's just a matter of helping. It's a community of
yeah,
people that we need to help each other, and no matter what the circumstances, we just gotta move forward and make it happen.
right, right. And this is one way of reaching out and communicating, and people get to know each other. And kind of what I'm hoping through all of these interviews with me is that other people that tuned in because they knew Bernie or something, now they tune in and see you. So it becomes a little bit more of a broader music community within Los Angeles,
Right,
mainly is,
right. And so, and great, great. I mean, there's so many artists, so many bands here in LA. Great bands, amazing musicians, and we gotta somehow make it happen, you know, because otherwise, it would be such a loss, you know. No,
yeah. Well, here's another thing I want to throw out, because there is all of this live streaming content coming out of Netflix and Amazon, who both have studios now over in Culver City.
right,
And you've got Warner Brothers and all the studios here, and they've got to come up with content, even though they've stopped live sessions with everybody getting together. There's going to they're going to need to have music for all of the content they're having come out. So
definitely, definitely.
so as each of us and you get your home studios, everybody's getting them now. That will become probably the way we'll be doing music for a while.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, it's the type of thing where you're either jump on it and get moving and see this is how I see it, Jeff. It would be very easy to say, you know what, either it'll come back eventually, and so I'm just gonna wait. I think that's not an option. Number
Right,
two, number two, you're gonna criticize people because now everyone is doing it. So what? This is how inventions come, you know, or are created. Things are created. There's so many ideas, so many people with so many great ideas out there. So you know, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to come up with something. In the meantime, yeah, everyone chip in, everyone try different things because something's got to work. It's the
right.
only
Well,
way.
this is a comment that somebody told me, because everybody's trying to live stream, and everybody should,
Right.
right? And I have to take it as there's no competition. We're all just trying to make a living. So I want to support everybody that does a live stream show. And even if they put donate, please donate and help support me, because as musicians, we don't have income now.
Exactly.
I mean, there's just no income. And then I was saying to a guy I had on yesterday, but there's so many people doing what I do. And he said, but there's only one you,
Exactly. And
right?
you are unique and you're individual and what you bring is different than what I bring and what the other person brings.
So from that perspective, then everybody has a voice that
Exactly.
somebody's going to want to listen to. And we shouldn't let the thought that everybody's doing it hinder us from doing it.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm all for it. I am, you know, I'm a strong advocate of that and I always try to encourage people, you know what you have, no one can take it from you.
Right.
My only request to people or students, you know, come to me and they ask, so, how should I approach this, or should I become a musician, or what style of music? You know what? I can't tell you that. Only you know that. What I can tell you though is you. It's almost like you are obligated in a way. I know that's a strong word, but there you are committed. I believe God gives us talents, and you have to develop those. It's like you have a little plant, or a little seed, or a little plant, that you plant if it's a seed, and you start watering, and you water it twice, and then you just walk away.
Mm.
No, man, you just gotta keep watering that thing, and taking care of it, and it's gonna eventually gonna grow into something. I think that is our commitment with the talents, specifically speaking, musicians, and again, there are many things that I don't do, many things that I'm aware that I'm not good at. Well,
Well,
I bet you betcha I will either put some time in learning it and some effort and just try to develop it, or somehow incorporate it to what I do. You know, so if it's a challenge, I'm into the challenge. I love challenges.
well, what I was thinking because of all of the stuff, the stomp thing, and what you did with your daughter, that would be, and all the different instruments and stuff you have in your house, you could do a little like a Saturday afternoon jam
Damn, I
on.
know, man. So many great ideas. But I don't have enough time. I have 4 kids, Jeff. We
You have
homeschool,
4 kids.
and we've been homeschooling since day one. Obviously
Oh,
now most people are doing school at home, which this is a different conversation. That is not homeschooling.
yeah.
You're doing school at home, which is great. I support it. But homeschooling, man, it's all a whole different thing.
It is.
We're in charge of the curriculums and everything. 4 kids. My wife is full on into that. She does all her things. I'm part of that as well. But yeah, there's a lot to do and not enough time. And it's 4 o'clock.
But yeah, I know it's 4 o'clock. We got to get rolling, and we've been talking for an hour, and there's still a
Oh
lot
my
of stuff we can
goodness.
talk,
Yeah.
right? But see, this is one thing that I think people don't understand is as musicians, we're used to, especially if you have kids, of when they go to school, okay, now I can do my stuff. When they go to bed, okay, now I can do my stuff. When they're home all the time, what?
There's no time for you at
There's
all.
get it. When does dad get his time?
You know that, and again, this is me, and I'm just sharing. I am the type of person, because I do normally. I would be outside either in the studios or doing live gigs. When I'm home, it's like that's the time to be with my kids. You know,
Mm,
and when I'm doing stuff, then that's most of the times. I love what I do, so it's in a way it's fun for me. It's not like I'm sitting in an office. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just simply saying some people don't like being sitting in an office, for 8 hours. And if you are one of those, good for you, man. I hope you're enjoying. I hope you're doing great. I'm not that type. So when I'm doing my thing, I'm enjoying being, a musician and playing for sessions and doing all kinds of stuff. When I'm home, man, that's when we do stuff. We read with our kids, we study, we share what they learn. We sit down and watch movies. We don't watch TV like casual TV, binge TV. We don't do that. But
mm.
we pick what we want to sit down and watch, and we watch it. And so anyway, so it's a very scheduled thing within the chaotic
Right?
world of you know.
Yeah. I always, the one thing that I could always get my kids, now my youngest, who is 14 now,
Wow,
we,
14, dude.
yeah, we sit and read together. But when they were younger, I always would make them, the only way I could get them to sit with me and cuddle. We had to have cuddle time, but I had to watch some silly show they were interested in.
Right.
I would at least get a hold of them. Now my 14-year-old, we just sit and we'll sit on the sofa in quiet and just read together. I mean, she'll read and I'll read, but
There
we'll
you
just sit.
go. There you go. There you go, man.
So, well, it's an hour, 4 o'clock. I want to say thank you, Walter, and we could come back again
Let's
and
do it. This
and
is
talk.
part two. And then you know what, Jeff? We got to do. somehow, because I'm originally from Puerto Rico, so I speak Spanish fluently. That's my first language. So we got to do a Spanish thing. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know how we're
Okay,
gonna do it, but
what this is what I need because I'm a single guy. I'm
right.
a single dad. I want a beautiful Puerto Rican lady to come sit next to me and speak. Okay, can you hook me up with that, and then we'll do the Puerto
we'll,
Rican
do,
show.
we'll do the Spanish Puerto Rican version. That's right.
You know,
Hey.
and you know J Lo. Oh, she's already got somebody. Doggone it.
Oh man, you're funny. All right, so we'll have to work something out. Definitely.
All right. So anyway, I want to go out with end with show this little clip of what you did with your daughter, and then I also want to say thank you again and for opening with your faith. And because I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff I do, but I do some I have spiritual people on and we talk about God and stuff all the time on my shows because that's all part of all of this.
Definitely. Like I said at the
So
beginning, I everything that I do stems out of that, and
right.
without that, I am nothing. I do nothing. I mean nothing. At least that's how I believe it.
Right. I agree. And so now that we're doing that, I'm going to close this out and let me make sure I get the right video up.
Okay.
Here is it's called Squeaky
Oh
Clean.
yeah, that was the thing I did at the beginning of quarantine. And
This no, this is funny. No, it again, the video comes out of this a little choppy, but they'll get the idea
that's on
because
my
it
on my channel, Walter Drums. YouTube.com/ Walter Drums one, number one.
Walter Drums one.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody can see this on your YouTube channel. Here we go.
Hold on. Let me wash my hands real quick.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Walter.
Hey man,
Uh,
Jeff, be safe. God bless. Take care, everyone.
all right. All right. Thank you.
All right, man.